Well, hello and welcome to a new build order for the Abbasid Dynasty. This build order is going to be a military wing into 2TC build that is super good for harassing early, putting pressure on your opponent while you get that second TC in the back. The second TC timing is about 5:15 to 5:30, depending on resources and, just in general how effective you are with your macro, but those are the numbers you are aiming for. This is a good build order for scaling, playing longer feudal ages, playing fast castle, you name it. This is a very good build order for all of that. All right, let's get into it. As usual, the build order is linked down in the description below. Let's go. First thing you do is you send your first 6 villagers onto the berries. You want to build the mill with 2 villagers, whilst the other 4 villagers are going to be gathering from the berries. That will sync the villagers up very nicely, so when these guys are going to go back for a drop-off, the mill will be done. So build this with 2 villagers. The next villager that comes out will build a house. Try to see if you can link up the buildings, so have 1 tile space here, and then have the mill connect with the house. As for scouting, because you are on berries, what is really nice is you don't have to get back with sheep at that 2-minute mark. Instead, what you're going to be doing is you can just scout as aggressively as possible, get the whole map scouted, because what will happen is the berries will last you for a long enough time before you need to go onto berries or a secondary food source. After the 7th villager has built the house and gone to berries, the 8th one and the next 4 villagers in total will go on to gold, building a mining camp. The 2nd or 3rd one will build the House of Wisdom, and then you will send the 4th one to gold. Next one goes to food, and then you can age up. Scout your opponent, make sure that you're not getting rushed. A lot of people will rush either in Dark Age or early feudal, the Abbasid Dynasty, so that is something you have to be mindful of. So now I'm going to build the House of Wisdom here with my 3rd villager, scouting all of this side. And then the next villager after that goes to gold, so I'll have 4 in total. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky. This is where the most important part is. This villager that just built the House of Wisdom goes to gold. When you're at 3,900 gold, you drop off your gold. That's when you can age up. Then, after the 4th villager has gone to gold, you go to the sheep with that 8th food villager. The reason we don't go to berries is because we're going to be moving on to straggler trees in a moment. Now we're aging up. You're going to be aging up at about 212 to 215. That'll give you that 3.57 to 4-minute timing on your military wing units, and that is pretty important. You want to get this timing pretty sharp so that your military wing units can go and pressure your opponent. After that, you take 4 berryvilles. 3 berryvilles, I mean. 1 sheepville. And then 1 comes out from the TC. And then you have 5 plus another one here. So start off with 5 on wood. That'll give you enough wood from 1 trip to build the mining camp, where you will be pulling your gold bills after you have reached 38.25 gold out of 4k. And then you'll have those 4 villagers on the stone. Same concept as before with the mill. Build the mining camp while 2 of them gather. Leaving these 4 villagers on the stone is really nice because you're not gathering with a lot of villagers, which means you're going to be having a faster golden age and just in general a faster TC because we start earlier. The reason we gather 75 gold here is to get fresh foodstuffs. Now, you're just going to be rallying to wood. You have 4 in food, 4 in stone, and then rest goes to wood. You're gathering wood because you need to get golden age very quickly, so you want to get up to 10 structures. You're just building houses whenever possible here until you have the golden age. The next building you build after that is going to be the 2nd TC. So here comes 1 house. And then we're just watching the wood up here in the corner. Whenever we get the next wood, we build the next house. Now we're next age, feudal age. Send your military wing units aggressively. You want these guys to go aggro, to counter opponents' stone gathering, to potentially take out early units, to push berryvilles or goldvilles. But if you see your opponents going for an early archer range, pull back. That is the counter here. Pull those units back, and then just cover your 2nd TC. So push these guys forward. Just keep rallying onto wood in the base, and then get that golden age. You want to get that golden age at about 420, 430. push forward, push the berries, just get that idle time if possible. And if you get a villager kill, that is really good value because you did not pay anything for these military wing units. So whatever value, this is value by the way, them being idle, whatever value you can get from these, really nice. Check your stone. Make sure that when you're at 850 stone, you pull these villagers off. And then you can also, let's say you want to go for the deers that are here, you can send them over there with some woodbills. But if you need to go to the berries, which I'm going to be doing in this game, because my opponent is going early horseman, I'm going to be sending them over to the left side instead with the berries. So now I'm under 850 stone, which means I have enough for TC. At the same time, my wood should also sync up. And now I'm going to build this TC with about 14 villages. You can build it with fewer villages, but if you do it with 14, you'll get that 6-minute uptime on the second TC. Again, it doesn't really matter too much. It depends on how you want to be scaling. If you want to get a production building out quicker, or if that doesn't matter too much. Notice how the military units have been pulled back, just to make sure that they can defend the second TC villagers from horseman raids, because we know that there are horsemen out here. We saw the hippodrome. We know that he was out here before, which is why we're not on berries either. We pulled back. Now the second TC is up, building a mill on the berries, and now we have a second food source secured, plus a little bit more map control. We still have units. This is where the build order ends, but this is now where some of the more important things that we're going to talk about will be covered, so stick around. So for the post-build order advice, I'm going to be showing you a game here where we go into a long feudal age situation. I recommend going straight into a stable after you get the second TC up, because your opponent knows that you have spearmen and archers, and if you want to follow up on that comp and get that 1-1-1 composition that can counter most earlier compositions, then the stable is definitely the way to go, especially considering archer range being the counter to the military wing units. So naturally, because our opponent is going for a hippodrome and possibly going to go into archers to counter a spearman, we will go for the horseman spearman composition, because that is the direct counter to cavalry and archers. So stable, barrack, and then you can get your camels out after, or whatever you want to do. I think I drop an archer range here in just a second. Try to link up the buildings, so in case you get ram rushed, you have a little bit more armor on your town centers. And then just try to keep constant production up on your buildings here. Here comes the archer range. Notice how my villager splits are currently, about 50-50. So I have 14 on food and a little bit more with 16 on wood. That's because I'm building a lot of buildings currently. When I'm done here, I'm probably going to be macroing similarly, but with a little bit more focus on food. We need about 3 villagers per TC because of fresh foodstuffs. And so that's 6 villagers, and then the rest is just on top with military. Keep scouting your opponent. You want to know if they're going second TC or if they're going aggro. Here, our opponent is going to go for mercenary house, which does indicate that he's going to go for an aggro play. We try to get a tower up here, but unfortunately we lose a villager because he was guarding the gold. And we actually also lose the tower, but it doesn't matter too much. We can still defend this. Don't worry too much about these early losses. As long as you keep the game in control. So if you're encountering archers, pull back a little bit more, wait for your horsemen to get there. But if you can get the tower up on the gold, then you can start getting upgrades as well. So I've moved 3 villages over to gold, and I'm going to gather stone later on to potentially upgrade that tower. Here, my opponent pushes me again. I have my camel archer. I have a couple more spearmen here, about 6 spearmen. So they are getting debuffed, effectively reducing by 1 damage plus the triumph ability. So my spearmen do really, really well in this fight. Notice how that camel archer is super important. They're super expensive too, but they're so good against cavalry compositions. I cannot understate that. That is just such a good unit. But you don't want to build many of them unless you're facing Castle Age Man-at-Arms. Just 1 or 2 is enough. Alright. When you're playing this 2DC build order, you want to make sure that you have your food sources in the future secured. That means that when I'm running out of these berries, and if I'm going to use my safe sheep to gather food, that is only something I will be doing when I'm trying to secure more food sources. So if I try to go Castle Age now, and I was just eating my sheep, when I'm Castle Age, I'll probably be out of food. And so I have to make sure that I'm playing feudal for a long enough time so I can secure these deer, and then I can secure the berries afterwards. And some of the front berries are also nice to get as well. We don't want to make farms until we're in Castle Age, because in Castle Age we're going to be going for the economic wing. We want to get Fertile Crescent before we start making farm transitions, as it reduces the cost of the farms. So try to stick to the pocket resources before you make farms in Castle Age with Fertile Crescent. That means making a lot of units in feudal, getting control in feudal, and the good thing is the longer the game goes, the better for you if you're on +1 TC, because you'll be getting more villagers and more units that way. So just keeping the game going will eventually win you the game. Your opponent is on a timer. Here we have longbows coming out, and we don't want to take a fight against archer units when we don't have a lot of horsemen nearby, because our horsemen over here are actually raiding. A good trick is to raid under pressure. I have a video covering that on my channel, but that is one of the best things you can do, because because if you raid under pressure, you can try to force your opponent to stay back or have their new units try to defend this, but you're also idling villagers, which means you are sort of slowing their military production down, effectively reducing the amount of units that will be pressuring your base. So get these raids in. It's really important you do so. And if not, that is actually also okay for this build, because you are going to get more villagers if you have 1 TC more than your opponent. Don't worry too much about sacrificing a scout and a horseman here for a village kill. That is okay. Remember the idle time here as well. Just in general, you want to try to cause as much havoc as possible. Then during that time, try to scale as well. Try to spend all of your resources, get your blacksmith, get your +1 ranged armor, and then get more units depending on more production buildings, depending on what your opponent is going for. So if they're going for purely horsemen and longbows, add more stables, add more racks. Just know that you need a few archers to counter potential limitnai or spearmen in that matter. So currently we are ahead in military. We are also ahead by 20 eco. We are only 12 minutes in. And so unless your opponent has a death push coming here, then we are actually starting to now become too strong compared to our opponent. Try to get as many upgrades if you're playing long feudal as possible. Get your boot camp, get your phalanx upgrade here, and then get your ranged armor. This upgrade is super important if you're playing spearman and horseman upgrade. So spearman and horseman composition. Pardon me. Then just trying to defend, secure the food sources as I outlined before. It is super important you do so. Don't be scared to build towers. Don't build 4 towers, but 1 or 2 towers is good. But if you have a lot of army close, you don't need to build as many, of course. So this one is just for vision. In our base, we have 4 on gold. We have 5 on stone here, getting upgrades. And then we're just rallying onto wood. Over here, we're also rallying onto wood, because we have a lot of food already. We're just spending all of our resources on units. He's trying to go for raids. Try to wall in. Walls are really great because they don't cost a lot early, and it's a great way to secure your resources. And then just try to raid yourself and keep your other resources safe with units. Here, the horsemen move out together with the scout. Always check in the fog of war. Where are their villagers at? You can use a sheep like this, if you have a sheep close at their base, to check out if there's villagers on gold. You can also drag box select like this, and check if there's fewer than 7 deer in a deer camp. That means that it could be gathering there, because the deers have been killed. Keep scaling, try to keep as much production uptime, and then get all the upgrades that you can possibly get. If your opponent is going for a lot of villagers on gold, then you can do that as well, get Castle Age. But if they're not doing that, and they're actually trying to push you, you just keep playing feudal. Because, as I stated before, just keep the game going, and you will eventually win if you don't lose villagers. Keep raiding. It's really just great for keeping your opponent back. I'm gonna speed the game up a little bit here. I get a few nice villager kills here, but he's got a few limitnai coming. And that is pretty much just it for the raiding. I'm just running around checking all the potential spots that he could be hiding in. Here I find another tower. And I run around here. He's gonna come back out and kill another villager. So that's nice. As you notice here, another set of horsemen are moving out. It's not that hard to create 2 control groups, and then you can have these guys running out. Notice how they're running back, because what's happening now is what I suspected. Because I couldn't find his military units, I suspected he was going to be going for a push at some point. So we have about the same amount of military units at 15 minutes in, but I have almost 30 villages more. We are also floating a bit of resources. The most important thing here is that we defend this. If I defend this push, then I've won the game. Unless, of course, I lose 30 villages, but that is probably not going to happen. In these fights here, use your archers, target, shift-click the Limitanei, and then attack move with the horsemen and spearmen. You can also micro a few horsemen onto the longbows. Most importantly is that you kill the spearmen so that the rest of your army can function. At the same time, he's pushing my House of Wisdom with Karasiphons. I don't want to pull villagers to take these out because they're going to burn, but I can take villagers and repair the House of Wisdom. And I don't want to pull military units either to try to take these out in this fight, because if I take this amount of units to go and kill the rams, then I might lose this fight. So take the fight first, then do the rams. Horsemen on top of the longbows, spearmen are just A-moved, archers are doing their thing, and now we've won the game. We are too far ahead with about 40 villagers, and we would have been just 30 villagers ahead had we not killed those 10 eco units as well. Take out the rams, repair the House of Wisdom, and now push him, and the game is pretty much over. Not a lot more to it. Just get your eco upgrades, get your damage upgrades, and then just try to finish the game here, or go Castle Age. If you want to play it safe, go Castle. If you want to just finish the game, you know you can do that, just push them. Horsemen to the wood line, archers onto the Limitanei, spearmen are attack moved, and the game should pretty much be over here. There we go. If you guys enjoyed this build order, then like and subscribe. You can always ask questions down in the comment section below, where I'll be doing my best to answer them. And yeah, if you're interested in coaching, there will be something about that now. See you guys in the next one.